So because you're going east side.
Line up the front. I take that back. Yeah, there's a
Oh, we
lot.
got more friends.
Okay. Let's slide that thing down.
Mama Crow, let me see all your
Right,
friends.
there's a car here we don't want to scratch. And one behind you. Come on down.
Definitely going around like this way. Is that your car?
Oh, hello, Mama Crow.
Down here
Okay, now.
and right through there. Oh, sweet. No. That's great.
Don't hire the car though.
Oh, sweet golly.
I won't hire the car. That car doesn't
Mama Crow, look at you and all your friends. I'm so happy to see you. Hey, Aaron, Kelly.
I use that word a lot.
Mama Crow, come say hello today. Mama Crow, all her friends in my tree today. Oh, Mama Crow got more friends.
You're talking about working out at the gym and busting walnuts with your ass cheeks. Get in there and reef that son of a down.
Hey, Wolfgang. So it ended up to be a little warm today. Now it's cooling off. We're watching graveyard cars. Cheers.
Okay, let's stop and line up these front canines.
So I don't know how many crows are up there, but I'm guessing around 100.
I didn't do anything. Let's go forward a little bit. Right there. Perfect.
Mama Crow and all her friends came to say hello
As
today.
far as that goes, that's a perfect alignment. That's going to be the best one we've done yet. You're welcome. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, Charla.
That was a feat. Well, those are getting good. Yeah, going higher. Higher it up. Higher it up here.
Beautiful color. Oh, here goes a group of them.
We'll round up the wheels and tires of his
Mama
choice.
Crow.
He's going with a 68 style wheel. It's been widened a little bit. They're all over in the machine shop. I think they got a PA on them, PA radio. Now, in fairness, when you look at these wheels and tires and they're all kind of rolling down the road, you don't realize they weigh something. That's a big wheel and tire. That's a 275 on a steel rim that's probably 8 inches wide. There's a lot of weight to it. Don't be stupid. What took so long? You're going to put the small ones on the back?
I'm trying to pay attention and watch TV too. Oh, look at the girl. She's picking up the tire. How adorable. The tire's too heavy. She's struggling.
I told her she had a fat ass. Thank you for that.
Oh,
So
my
she does
goodness.
back squats at the gym. So she don't have this upper body.
Ah!
Like me, I'm a push-up.
How cute.
You know, I like to go vertically upside down, just do push-ups all day. So yeah, I had to go like that. Don't act like I'm not helping. Well, you aren't. You're making it worse. You're shoving it all over.
Oh, shit, it was so adorable. The dad had to come and help
Now,
her.
this is the pace I'm looking to set it great.
Oh, my goodness.
Just like this, right? You have a goal. You get the goal done in a day.
His daughter is pretty hot.
At the end of the week, it can culminate in what we have. A 1969 Plymouth GTX that's now rolling under its own power for the first time in many, many years. It's called a victory.
So
It's
they
the kind of
had it all
victory that You
redone.
don't want to take a lap necessarily. But you want to use it as a springboard for the next 20 or 30 cars that are in here. All right. Good job. Good job. Good job, Willie. Lizer.
Don't touch me. Ow.
This show makes me crack up. He's like a comedian, but he's so smart, right?
With that, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready to start putting the rest of the interior together.
Wow. That does look cool though. Look at that black stripe.
The 18.
That's cool.
The 18.
He's pointing to his daughter.
Say something funny. See, you're not natural
Funny.
comedian.
Look how adorable.
There's only room on the show for one, Dad.
I think we had a really good week. Would you say we had a good week? You helped out a lot. I want to thank you very much. Well done at the engine.
Oh, the grandkid was so adorable, right?
Then I was in big trouble. I had to go to the E-Meister General.
Oh, the E-Meister General.
Emma. and she helped me put the engine together in the department together with her mother, Alyssa. And I think that went good. We had a helper that day. What was the helper's name?
I haven't named it.
You haven't named it? Can we name Mark?
There already is a Mark.
Huh?
Yeah. Okay, he could be
Oh.
Tiger Mark, though. How about, I know.
She'll all
My
know.
favorite character when I was growing up in Winnie the Pooh was Tigger. Can we call him Tigger?
Tigger. Yeah, she's like,
There it is.
see, I double gut her. She like tigers.
And once we had that done, we were able to bolt the drivetrain in,
How
lower the
cute.
car down, and roll it forward. What do you think of the dance moves that we're working with now?
Hilarious and funny.
Oh, look, they're doing dance moves. Look how funny. Oh.
Each morning I wake up
I put on my makeup.
and I say a little prayer for you. Forever and ever, you'll be in my heart. That's number one right there. Rock and roll, everybody.
We're watching Graveyard Cars. Adorable. Oh, Mama Crow. You want to see more of your friends?
Make sure to check out our show 0 to 60 right here on Speed Vision. We're gonna have our buddies come on, talk some cars, have some fun.
They're up there.
Some select buddies on the car. Absolutely. They love Speed Vision. Let's go, baby. Let's hit the ground rolling right here on 0 to 60.
Oh, here comes some more. Tigers.
Using a garden hose shouldn't be a hassle. That's why we built the Tardigrade Steel Hose. The inner diameter of Tardigrade Steel Hose is wider
Tiger.
than two other metal garden hoses, allowing for powerful water pressure. Our advanced engineered metal garden hose is made with premium materials, strong,
Oh, the
rugged,
dog.
tough, and easy to use. Extreme summer temperatures to frigid winters stand no chance against the Tardigrade
The baby varmints are usually over there somewhere.
outperform all others.
Oh, here comes some more crows.
My performance resolution is to improve my first touch skill score. To improve my two-footed skill score.
Oh, at Rosie's? Yeah, Rosie's got Canadian flag. Rosie's munching out In-N-Out Burger. And look at baby socks. Baby socks. Alright.
The perfect tool to improve your football skill.
Okay, take a guess. How many are there? We're seeing how many flags there are. Oh, Kelly said hello, Rosie. She said hello. All right, let's see if we get another episode. We're watching Antique Roadshow, which I'm so happy because the American one. Oh, let me get a cigarette.
Right now, you're suffering.
Because they only had the European one, and I like watching the American one. So we watched that for a couple hours.
This very special episode of
All right, my arm is getting tired.
is near and dear to my heart. I have chose to celebrate our 100th episode of Graveyard Cars by airing the original pilot. I'm doing this because you, the audience, are
The original pilot. This was their first show.
You, the audience, the Graveyard Ghouls who write in.
The
who
Graveyard
feedback,
Ghouls.
who learn from you. Graveyard Cars has evolved from what you're about to watch, the original pilot, to where it is now.
Oh, cool.
I
We
had
get to
a
watch the
dream,
first
I had a
one.
vision for Graveyard Cars to become a show that people would watch, that they would learn from, and that would celebrate my love of Mopars.
Kaylee
We
in.
did it almost 11 years ago. We had one camcorder we owned, the other one was borrowed from our producers.
Oh, cool. Oh, I want a
We had
t-shirt.
this microphone setup that we bought on Craigslist, and we have a lot of heart. And it's that heart that has put us where we are today.
Oh, no worries. I
It's
think,
the heart
I hope your
that has got
sunflower
our
growing.
Phantom Cougar that everybody said couldn't be done, done. So remember, as you watch tonight's episode, very special. Anything you see in that episode that you like and you'd like to see more of, let us know. If you hated it, I want to know that too.
So we're watching the first pilot episode of Graveyard Cars.
Because I wouldn't be here, regular Cars would be here.
Oh, cool.
Thank you guys. So with that, enjoy the show.
Let's see.
Hey buddy. So your theater we go. Episode 100. Somebody turn the lights on. Coming up on this very special 100th episode.
Oh, it's a 100th episode.
Reveal never before aired footage of the original unbroadcasted
Look, now I got movie theater in his garage.
the origin of the Phantom Cuda.
The Phantom Cuda. But the whole thing is destroyed.
That would have launched the series. Stay tuned. If you're a fan of PYC, this is the never before seen story of where it all began.
Oh, look, got bats. Oh, look, Graveyard Cars. How funny. So he found this Cuda, 1971 or something. Yeah, beat up. Like, looked like it was in a graveyard. He's towing it, pulling it with a hearse. Almost trying to finally set F off. Oh, how cool. Hey, DBG. My arm's getting tired, but there's still about 50 crows up there. Mom Crow brought a lot of her friends today. Alright, let's watch the Graveyard Cars. Let's try it out to drop.
You ready? That's it. Worst car I've ever took on in my entire career.
The thing is destroyed.
Full, watered and twisted.
It's all junk.
Two.
Should have been scrapped.
This car that you're seeing right now, that's the Phantom Cuda, what we call the Phantom Cuda, which we delivered last
Because the
year.
whole rear end is smashed. The front end's gone.
It was. Everything that you see in this pilot episode was real. Like the first time I got in the door,
It's a
on
pilot
the
episode.
pulls that we did on the unibody. That car is a 71 Cuda.
71 Cuda.
6-barrel, 4-speed. It was a track pack 354 car. It was one of 108. And probably only one of a small handful that were actually shaker hood in Tor red. Those are all the things that led up to why that car should be built. That's a very rare car, and I'm glad that we did. I remember the day we filmed this. This is Aaron's dad, Preston, driving the GTX Tribute we built with a 440 Super Commando, and that's our 71.
So this guy
Cuda
knows everything
that
about
later
Mopars.
became The Phantasm Cuda with Don Coscarelli and Michael Baldwin. And that was a real race, and we were neck and neck.
His, whatever Chris said,
It's a
well, you
reality
had a
show.
Corvette, you said
Reality
no.
show about restoring Chrysler muscle cars back to their
He's
old
like, I had it to
clean
sell, and he's
condition.
like, I didn't have the
We make
Corvette.
them perfect, exactly the way they were.
Pure
Graveyard
Mopar,
cars
crack
at the
me up.
show and the shop, really, which is all in one now. It's kind of linked at the hip with the 71.
But he know every number, every
I mean,
stamp,
exactly.
whatever.
That Cuda was what inspired me to even film the things.
We explain it to you on the show, so you're trying to get a little
For
fluid.
those that don't know, yeah, there was a big internet pushback on that car about how we were going to rebody it because it was too bad to save. And
Rebody it.
Yeah.
Rebody it.
Exactly. That's what kind of, I think, got its notoriety. Before we bought the car, my client, it had been to Mopars at the Strip, it had been to Chrysler at Carlisle, Mopar Nationals. The guy was trying to sell it at all these places.
Someone was trying to sell it.
After traveling around, and I believe he wanted $70,000 for it. He had it all in the back of his
70,000 for it looked like a piece of junk. We were going, what's that? Go to the trash.
And, it wasn't until he got back to Oregon and talked to me and we were able to put a deal together.
I guess it's really rare.
I pulled like Vienna sausages at the end of my hand. That set right there was our old set at 34th and Main. Me and one of the guys that's in the show, Joe, in this episode, he actually built the fireplace back there. And then some of those books up there were given to me by a very good friend of mine up in Portland. And here we are going down in the crypt. And then you come out here in the, we were creative back then.
Ah! Like a cartoon. That's
There
great.
was a lot to learn. There was a lot to learn. There still is. Oh, absolutely. Honestly, it's the fans that really have kind of moved the needle on graveyard cars from this, our original idea, to where we are now.
Glad everyone's doing good. We're just drinking beer. Clean. Everyone.
Street out back. There's quite a few cars. There's the old Caddy hearse, which is now down in Springfield Auto Recyclers. Oh, is it? Yeah. Oh, that's where we played that paintball game. Oh, that's where you shot me in the back, isn't it? Only twice. SOB. Oh, now this is ridiculous. So, educational film. Please enjoy.
Oh, more Mama Crows. Look. Mama Crow invite all her friends. Mama Crow, look, you all come say hello. I'm so happy to see you, Mama Crow. Look at all your friends.
Aaron Smith narrated this. He did such a great job the other day.
Yeah.
As horse-drawn buggy to Henry Ford's affordable mass-produced Model T, man has sought the most efficient mode of transportation. At first a mere means of conveyance, it didn't take long for the automobile to become available to everyone. At the age of customizing.
When we made this, it was in the spirit of a school film. Remember how you watch those corny-ass school films? And films. Yeah. And it took a lot of time. We found a lot of stock footage that we could use. And we came up with this. And it was really just a way to kind of introduce what an OE restoration was. Because even 11 years ago, it wasn't quite as prevalent as it is today.
Oh, look, he got a doggy on the hood of his car.
That inspired my dog Bella to get a little pair of glasses. We lost Bella
How
last year,
cute.
but, I love
The
it.
doggy on the hood of the car.
Precious thing. Now that's real footage of the day we were out drag racing with the 67 Satellite, and that's a 71 Challenger 383 Shaker car, and that's the Phantasm.
Ice cream man. The Phantasm Cuda.
And so in this
They got old footage.
what we're trying to convey is that there's a lot of restorations, there's a lot of custom work that's been done to cars, and they're called customizing, right? But the OEM, the original equipment manufacturer, that's what I wanted to get across in this, is that it's a smaller market than the custom market, but it's also very specialized. OEM means that you're going to take that car that's 4 years old, and you're going to restore it back to exactly the way it was when it rolled off the assembly line. So that throws out your wheels and your tires, your aftermarket stuff like that. Throws out your aftermarket headers. It puts it exactly the way that the guy who designed it, or the team that designed it, back in that exact same condition as an OE wrestling.
How amazing.
Equipment manufacturing. We couldn't find an
Original equipment manufacturing. OEM. Uh-oh.
that each car met prior to being shipped. That picture right there is from an assembly line photo in Hamtramck, Michigan that we used and we animated. What kind of felt there, don't I?
That is called graveyard cars international.
Anyway, I don't know in today's climate if that little animated bit would be accepted or pretty cornball. Ornette was the first. So the car we're looking at right now.
This one's a
was a
rare
car I bought for a client up in Canada. Same guy that owned a 71 Cougar. It was a 69 Cornet 440 4-speed car, and they made I think 1541 of those cars. So these are early days, and so that's why when as you watch this. And I'm talking about how you have to recycle so many parts, like in that opening bit, right here. Because they're you didn't have to unbolt the car and do those things to find the parts that you needed to be able to restore. The red Cornet was just a beautiful car.
when it was done. I didn't realize everything was going together.
I remember when we drug it out of Cottage Grove, out of that guy's barn down there in Cottage Grove. And here's when they actually drove it when it hit the moose up in Canada.
Oh, it hit a moose.
It was a pretty car. And it was a nice, complete car. But I'll tell you what's tough about that. If you look at these shots like they just showed there, that whole interior was red. It's hard to find groups of red stuff 11 years ago. And
hey, how's it going, DBG?
Production stuff 11 years ago. So that interior was a challenge to put together.
Yeah, it was at that.
We were really scrambling to get that part done on time. We need to
Oh, the ice cream man.
Radford and Lotus are collaborating to build a new Lotus.
We could be improving the car by doing this.
That's our car. Radford's alive!
That was a doggy.
There's no power steering, so I have to be in the gym a lot.
Oh, it's a girl race car driver. It's not Danica Patrick. Who is it? Or is it? Who is it?
Basically taking a Le Mans race car on the street. What could go wrong?
Caffeine and octane. Now,
Caffeine and octane. What do you think, Mom Crow?
Governor's let me know because of the coronavirus. What the hell's the coronavirus?
You can stay on my mom's place for a couple of minutes. You're living under my heartbeat. During my career, I took the liberty of rolling up a list of douchebags in the area. Do you think she's crazy?
I don't spend 26 years in prison. I'll learn in a few days.
You've become almost like a family.
Not bad.
More commercials. Oh, Mom Crow got more friends? I don't know if you could see him.
You know, my worst fear was when we started making the bolts on it, that the quarter panel was going to rip off the car, that the roof was going to pull away from the pillars, that the firewall wasn't going to walk out. So it was important, other than Fernando, so there it is, 71 CUDA, 446 barrel 4-speed. Now, what I'm introducing people here to that I said in the beginning that we're going to use equipment you've never seen before. I don't know anybody that ever showed a frame straightening machine before. For those that are watching closely, that car is mounted in pinch weld stands right now. And our goal is to grab hold of that left
straighten the frame
panel, pull it out to the factory length so that we can cut it off and replace it with a new one or a section of it. When you begin to lose original parts off the car, you begin to lose its value. You take off, both quarters going to be replaced. When I'm looking at something like that, this is just like a collision job. I remember when I took my ICAR classes, they said, what you got to think about is just reversing what happened. Forget all the science, forget all that stuff. Just reverse it, right? Makes sense. The very last part to get caved in will be the very first part to come out as you're pulling on it. And so that's the order in which you're going to do your stress relieving in your metal. So my thinking on that was, if we could save some of the quarter panel, save some of the floor, save some of the frame rails, then we could have those bragging rights. Now, as it turned out later, we couldn't. You know, it was just all so watered up. As I go over this,
Watered up.
with the employees and, like I said, the naysayers.
Yeah, Moose, the Moose
I
one.
think it's funny that we're going to save this or save that, that kind of thing. But
The one guy's laughing.
Fernando actually jumped right in here and really started making some good pulls on that car, and that's what you'll see happening.
Ask it to say, well, he said, look at me now without smiling and say it's the truth. The truth. What's the truth? He said, why are you smiling like a fool? Because you're lying, that's all. Daniel, did you say that?
Mama Crow, I'm so happy to see you. Yeah. I'm so happy to see you and all your friends.
I'm talking about original equipment standards. So
I love you, Mama Crow.
making a reference to how it looked on the assembly lines, how it looked today. Not just look that way, but be that way structurally. And that's a lot to say because it's a 40-some-year-old.
Oh, you got more friends.
Yeah, so when you brought that, when you come to kind of look at that, when you put it back, yeah, I had my doubts about restoring. I mean, I guess I knew it could be restored, but when everything, what price? Anything's restorable if you want to spend. Well, you said that in this pilot. You said anything can be restored if you have enough money. That's when you got in trouble just a minute ago. Yeah, I think it's either coming up or you just did it. I don't remember which.
Oh.
Hey, you were a naysayer back then. What is your problem?
No, I thought you make fun of Royal's head. Royal has no hair in his head. And he calls him Chrome Dome. And makes fun of him with Heller all the time. And hey, Royal, turn that light off over there.
What are some of the nicknames I've had for you? I've had Chrome Dome, Swim Cap Head, Helmet Head, Cue Ball, Uncle Fester, Cue Morton, which is a Cue Ball reference. As you know, I love old movies, especially buddy cop movies. That one was from The Last Boy Scout. There's a shiny here. I wonder what that is. Football helmet?
So
I
stupid.
don't consider it an insult.
He come up with all these names because his friend bald.
Yeah. Politically correct to point out to them. Like Royal being bald. I've always felt my insults are just like I said right there. They're terms of endearment, man. And my way to, like I say, in a nice way, in a lighthearted way, to point out things that make you a freak, so you can do something about it. Look at the size of my ears. I'm a freak. By the time Larry pulled the trigger on the car deal, I had 2 weeks to get the car done. In reality, there was about 6 weeks of work left on it. So here we have this car completely painted by our painter, but apart. This was a nice car, and in retrospect, I wish Larry had chose to keep it. I think it was a much nicer car than the one he traded for. I mean, I think the one that he traded for was a nice car, but when it came to rarity, okay, so they made 1,541 69 Cornet RP 440 speeds. They only made 733 RT SE70 Challenger 440 cars. So they made a lot less of them, but in reality, I think the Cornet was just a much neater car.
Yeah.
It was pretty, it was muscly. I love the scallops that were called out on the quarter panels. It was a real N96, yeah. Well, I do too. They have a place.
I had doubts for the weekend for the Cornet. Yeah, I really did.
There's still so many up there.
Hey, your grandma called. She wants her car back.
Classic episodes of Graveyard
Oh, there's an airplane. Can you see the airplane?
are back on the air. Classic crew.
Oh, no.
Classic builds. It's gorgeous. Classic Warman.
You insult me, call me names. You're an idiot.
Graveyard Cars Classics. Only.
Mama Crow, I'm so happy to see you and all your friends. Yeah.
Stars you love. We get a push in the moments you live for. So whether you're a crime junkie, thrill seeker, big spender, or all of the above, this is the top. We're going here. There's 14 destinations with something for everyone.
cooling down now. And there's still more.
So this is because of my number one painter, Will. I told Will over and over and over again, I said, if you're going to panel paint this car, if you're going to paint it one panel at a time, you have to do all the paint mixed up at one time, 3 or 4 gallons, like they do now, like they listen
At
now.
one time.
Back then they didn't. So when we bolt the hood and the fenders and the doors on, they don't match the rest of the car.
They don't
so
match.
That's me at about 1 o'clock in the morning in there, working on getting that stupid car painted, repainted, complete.
Repainted
Yeah.
completely.
Can you see it's all red? It's just a long red. So what I'm doing there is I'm using this a block for sanding, and I'm making sure the car's super flat. You see the piece of tape down the quarter panel, that's because I'm making sure the style line doesn't disappear. And I'm blocking that out so I can roll it into the booth and paint it. And I remember doing that, and it was late and I was tired. The problem about some of those shows is the camera hides everything. So when the cameras dive around these cars, they look like a sheet of glass. I don't know, maybe they got magic.
He told the guy to mix all the paint at one time and he didn't, and it matched.
Once Larry pulled the trigger, like
So he did it.
I only had 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and they were bringing the car off from the Midwest, so it had to be ready to go that day. It wasn't a fake deadline or something. It was real. Some of the early days, the guys couldn't get over the fact that there was a camera. So some of the guys that you're seeing now would play to the camera. They'd ask these ridiculous questions. So, Mark, what do you think of this car and that? Just a sand car, man. How many coats of paint actually? That's the real answer. If it's 10 coats, it's 10 coats. It's not magic paint. It doesn't have a brain of its own. It's like, oh, we should have. And what you see these guys doing right now is they're scuffing all the... I did all the blocking, but they're going around scuffing all of the interstructure, like the jams, right? Because
the
you
baby
gotta have paint adhesion. It can't be shiny. So that's what you see when you see them sitting there sanding and scuffing. They're using a red Scotch Brite pad for good adhesion. Prepping the car has not changed in 100 years. If you want it to look right, if you want it to look beautiful like the cars do today, there is a ton of prep work. There's only a couple hours of painting, but there's months in some cases or longer of prep work. So this was our old booth. We put a heater on this, and you see the filters inside there? That was the heat. It was called an FAF booth, a front airflow booth. And the paint jobs, we had to work so hard to keep the dirt out of them, so hard. Because it would drag it in the front, and drag the warm air in across the car, so any dirt or impurities would hit the soft paint and stick in it, and then it would blow it out the back. This is back in the day when I painted the cars, before Will came along, back when they were perfect.
Yours painted, he did all the work.
Yeah, he did the collision work, I did the restoration work. And he was good. It wasn't until the last few years that he's really gotten where I don't want to say he's as good a painter, but he probably is. He's younger, he should be. He's been doing it more than he's done more practice than I ever had. Yeah. He gets to work on 15 cars at a time. I'm working on 1. Yeah. But yeah, when in our new booth, the AFC, it's gorgeous. It comes out clean, very rarely. If something comes on that car, if you get a dirt nib in that car, it came off your body. It didn't come from outside. It's because you were out sanding something when you shouldn't be.
A dirt nib.
But that's cool. I love that. The way they timed the music to that was cool. Rain Man, make sure you get that 71 Barracuda on that place for me. That's
Sarah done.
the interesting bit. This car that you see them rolling around, we're going to use that car as the template to build our information code for the total boxes for the pull. This is a 71 Barracuda, original 318 3-speed car. That car later became the 2016 SEMA 392 Hemi. That's the car right there. That's the car. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's the nicest body. I've been dragging her around with me forever. I had a clear title on the car, and all it was a shell, and I thought, well, someday I want to do a Pro Street. Well, when the opportunity to do the 392 Hemi from Mopar came up, that was the car. Perfect. We had to add torque boxes, like I said, like the 440 would have had to it. Now, that's the old Genesis measuring system, and it was a really simple system. It would just simply measure the time it took for light to hit that target and a front target, and it would tell you how many millimeters. It would equate it to millimeters. So you see the car's wadded up. You hang that target right there, and again, we're using that original virgin car that was never wrecked to gather the data, to harvest the data. Then we move it over to the other car and are able to use it to put everything in its exact spot. Now today, talk about the evolution of graveyard cars. Now we have so many cars and so much room, we actually build a frame jig and put all of those dowels, those floating dowels in all the original spots. So now all we got to do is set a car down on those pegs, and once it hits those pegs, we're on the money. Established to be a beginning point for pulling. So a torque box oftentimes is 4 points that make up a square that the measuring system can recognize as good, established, solid starting points. Because if a car is all wadded up like this, you know, when you start working on making a frame pull, a unibody pull, there are a lot of things to consider. Obviously your goal is to get the car square at all of its measuring points. That's why we took the original one and measured it, so we know what those points would be. So you have to get the car square and flat in a good torque box before you start making the pulls and before you start measuring out the rest of the unibody on it.
Yeah, I'm Chris Jacobs, Soundford Rubber. And Chris, what am I doing here? You're here being a car guy, right?
Mama Crow going night-night.
Check out our show 0 to 60 right here on Speed Vision. We're going to have our buddies come on, talk some cars, have some fun. Can I bring some celeb buddies on to talk about their cars?
Alright, my arm is getting tired.
We love Speed Vision. Let's go, baby. Let's hit the ground rolling right here on 0 to 60.
Juniors for just $5, 6 options, so much
Whopper
to
Junior.
offer. Barbecue, bacon, cheese to name a few. Only $5 and you get to have two.
$5.
Have it your way.
What is it? A baby Whopper. So I hope everyone's having a good day. I have to go. I have my backpack in the laundry now. So you want to watch this first episode, we'll get it. Well, it's all like starting stinking. Got some roadkill, a dead bird. So I think that was 2 lives. Hey, K9. Get a cigarette. Have some pot. A little warm today.
Most guys who have ever restored a car will tell you half the fun is the hunt. So ever since I was a kid and I would round up a car and make a deal on it, I always would take my time after getting the car and figure out, love my motor board. I absolutely loved it. I thought that was the coolest thing. We built that whole thing. It was. I wanted to be able to build a timeline for the car. I wish we had more time now to do stuff like that. I think that, to me, I thought that was a really fun bit. Every time we come up with some more information, we post it on the board. And you watch the old crime dramas, you know, before the CSI step back when detectives were probably real detectives before the computers. That's what they had. They built a timeline and they said there's no way that, you know, the chef could have done the murder. He was over here cooking this meal and
Colonel Mustard.
Yeah, I know I had that game. I had 4 crayons and a dead dad, so I didn't get Clue or whatever game that was. You know, one of the things that really made this the perfect storm, the Phantom Cuda, was that it also had this mystery about it. What happened to the original engine? Because when it was wrecked, they had a 318 in it. And it was still going over 100 miles an hour. That's what this animation, Casey Ferris did all of this stuff, and it was so cool. When he was drawing these little cards like this, I thought it was so sophomoric, it was ridiculous. And now I sit back and watch it, and it really did a great job of telling the story about what happened. If you watch coming up here, we made this pilot just out of what little money I had in my pocket, and everybody was working for free back then. This animation shows exactly based on the interview I did with the actual pilot wrecked the car. Now, he never wanted to be on camera, so we changed some names around. But I actually spoke to the guy that was in the car when it was wrecked, and that's what this is representing. And he's really lucky. All he walked away with was a cut on his knee and some torn Levi's.
So the car hit a moose, spun around, destroyed the tail end of it,
able to trace back
and the whole side.
We talked to a guy later that owned the car in '74, and he said the original 446 Pro was gone in '74. Oh, really? Yeah, that it had a 318 in it that he put in, and he bought it out here in Springfield with no engine or transmission, or no engine, but the transmission was there. And then he brought it home, and he put the interior out of his 1970 Grand Coupe Barracuda in it. He put the deck lid off of his the luggage rack off of his Grand Coupe. That's why it had a luggage rack. It wasn't an original luggage rack car in '91. And he put the 318 out of it, and then he sold it off to another guy, and it's the next guy that wrecked it. So something from '71 when it was made, and it came from Idaho. We also learned that. Maybe in Idaho somewhere is the original numbers matching 446 Pro, but we were never able to find it. Yeah. And, this guy, Craig Horesco, he was a really nice guy. He was a former owner of the car. He had a lot of history with it. I think he is the guy that had it when he bought it in '74 or so with no order. I think that's the guy right there. There we are out on that's the actual chunk of road that this happened on. And so we found the original highway that it was wrecked on. We found the old Sheriff Carnahan's place. And we reenacted how the accident happened and where approximately it would have came to rest in the middle of that highway. The only thing that for me was, and I never did solve.
So he had to go probably really fast.
You saw the animation, how the car bounced around off the embankments. There were no embankments on that road. There is a culvert, yeah. He may have misspoken and said an embankment, and he may have meant that culvert or whatever that is, that drainage. That may be it. So if he went over and hit that and bounced up into the middle of the road, he was moving. Oh yeah? There was a rumor. I spoke to the guy who was driving the old Ford truck that was in that animation. He said there was an orange patch of paint across the roof of the truck. The truck was like an old brown truck or something. And I said, are you telling me the car went up and pulled over the top of it? I never believed it because it never hit the roof. And so if it went over the top of it, it would have been sideways or upside down and then came back down on this wheel. I think that's too far-fetched. Yeah. That's why I didn't add that in there. Never know, though. The guy that was driving it said he was doing about 105 when we went out around it. Just fine, that's what we did. You know, had a 354 in it. A 318 would move it that fast, would motivate it that fast. But, well, he should have been hurt a lot worse than that. That's the fact. I think by the time the car is restored in a year from now, it should be pretty much full of black ink and a lot of gray marks.
realize these episodes are so old. This is like 80.
Radford and Lotus are collaborating to build a new Lotus.
We can be
Oh, the baby cat.
Yes. That's our car.
The little varmints. Hello, baby cat. Come and eat. They're not that shy anymore. One of them comes and eats. The others kind of run away.
What kind of horsepower?
653 to the ground.
Obviously, I'm a Porsche guy, but I'm a true car enthusiast, and this is a great example here at Caffeine and Octane of diversity of people and cool cars.
Caffeine and Octane, now streaming on Speed Vision.
Little baby cats running around. They're really curious when the water comes on for the plants. They all go in there and they all kind of look at it.
Governor's letting out because of the coronavirus. What the hell's coronavirus?
You can stay on my mom's place for a couple of months. You're living under my roof. After during my career, I took the liberty of writing up a list of douchebags in the area. Do you think she's crazy?
You don't spend 26 years in prison without learning a few things.
You've become almost like a family. Not bad.
We're gonna smoke some pot. So they're going over the rack. I can't believe this car is so rare. It cost $70,000 or whatever. And it was wrecked. So the guy had a special computer to get another one, not like the frame specs. And then I guess they got new computers now to do it, to make sure the car is square. You got to rebuild it. They're trying to keep little parts of it from the original car, which looks like the salvage unit. It was funny, they asked the one guy, what do you think about this car? He goes, oh, that's junk. It's $70,000, that's junk. They're like, nah, restoration. Let's see, how much does it go for?
A lamb fry and go hang this over there in the other target for me.
Look at the lamb fry.
So what you see right now is we have the Genesis. We're hanging the targets on it, just like we did on the original
Hanging the targets on the original mangled car.
On this watered up mess. And now when we make a pull, when they come into the factory specs that we've already harvested and are stored in the computer, we know that things are where they're supposed to be. Again, back then that's all we had, and that was pretty ingenious to kind of
sophisticated.
Yeah, it was sophisticated back then, yeah.
Frame straightener.
But you're a miracle. Which is crazy. I don't never seen anything like that in all my days. Turn that target around and face the scanner. What scanner? Scanner's sitting right in front of you. I think we better start with our width right
And it's
there.
like an old computer with
The
an
width on the
old,
back is off too.
like,
You see the
monitor and stuff?
You see that patch of Bondo? So that guy was working on that car. He said he was doing body work on it. But 2 days before he wrecked it. And that's old Bondo that's been exposed to the elements for 20 or 30 years.
That can't be good.
No. So we ended up reusing that original door on that car. You try to push it together, it crinkles. And in this case, that firewall did that right there. That's what that front crinkle was in there.
I remember working on that.
Yeah, if you look at the crease on that firewall, it's so heavy. That's such a solid area. There's
You
an
hit it
animation
so hard.
what we were going to try to do. And we did.
Oh, look,
do a lot
they
of
show
it.
the animation how they're pulling the car
Do a lot of
back.
that. And you have to. You have to have all those things out before you can actually start cutting panels off.
Would be easier.
In some cases, if the rest of it isn't contorted, you could just cut that panel out, put it on a flat bench, straighten it out, and roll it back on. That's what I've been doing on the A100. that metal is so strong that it's impossible I could pull on it. So I just cut it out, window it, put it on something, straighten it, all it, weld it back on the car. That was true right there on that door. That was the very first time since 1981 that door had been open. It took me a long time of working on it to get it. And when I finally realized that I had the latch where it would release, I waited for the camera guys to be there for it. So what I'm doing right now is I want to make sure when I pull that left apron down, you see that cord wrapped around there, that strap. I don't want the right hand side to come down, so that's why I put a jack underneath the right apron over there on that side. I'm going to put right rail. Now I can pull this one down. If I didn't have that one over there, it might pull the whole car down, and then you have a height problem at the front of the car. And you watch some of this right here as he starts pulling on it. You can see it slowly start to move that firewall. Just pulling down, pulling down. Now I'm measuring the height of the frame rail. I want that frame rail to have the exact same height measurement that the other car had. Good. Always be careful. There's no careful. You see the hat? I've been using frame racks for many years. When I started my body shop and I started welding in '85, I went into body work around '90. We had pretty rough, ugly old equipment back in those days. It's all you could afford. Yeah, it's all you could afford. And really, I couldn't afford that rack at the time, but I felt that it was important for us to be able to do this. So I took, I sold a couple of my cars at the time.
Alexa, what time is it?
Project to get this graveyard cars off the ground. It's a great ride.
Okay.
Oh, it's a phenomenal piece of equipment. Oh my gosh, if I had a collision shop, that's the one I'd want. 3 towers, each one pulled 10,000 pounds or 15,000. Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't be able to say everything. I always thought that I could, and I was right about that. Some of the skeptics that roll their eyes and do their little huffy things through their lungs were wrong. And it was obvious as it was coming out that there was a bit of jealousy in their faces. You could see
He sold a couple of his other cars.
they were calling, go around the car and kind of catch you back. You'll see that they're hiding their little color. Because they know I was right. There's the neck brace. There's the neck brace.
What happened?
That tombstone right there that you see, that was out at the cemetery, that faux cemetery we built. And that bit of fencing around there too we built around it. Wrong year. We had the wrong year on it for when it came back to life. It was actually 81, not 82. I actually built a shaker to go on the top of that headstone, and we ran a windshield wiper motor, and that would make it shake. I remember that. And then we put a fog machine in it. Whoa. Yeah.
Like put a fog machine.
It's like a freak.
Ah.
Look at that. Something that never changes, amazingly, is the phantom dents. There was not a dent in that hood, and then all of a sudden, overnight, there was an inside-out dent, which means somebody left a tool under the hood on the air cleaner, closed the hood, and then lied about it, denied it. Just couldn't wait to deny it, and that's what they did. So there I am again, getting ready to push really hard and make sure we made all the dent lines, and we did. We always do.
Someone dropped a tool on the head.
Well, a couple of them we haven't hit, but for the most part we do. Because you usually, what it does to you physically and emotionally to try to get those deadlines. I mean, that's why I don't put them on anymore. Occasionally the SEMA things,
He's on no more deadlines.
They really are deadlines and you have to have them. But what I tell people when I bring the car in is, look, I'm going to do my best to knock this thing out, but there's no guarantee. Because there's no guarantee with the cars, there's no guarantee with the parts. Yep. Matter, does it? Thanks for playing Should I or Should I Not Question the Knowledge of the Great One. But we got the paint work done on that hood just in the nick of time. Got the wet sanding and the buffing done on it. We're able to get the hood back on it in time. There's a lot of steps go into that. I don't miss that old shop a bit. That Coke machine you just saw in the background was one similar to the one I have now, except all the flavor strips I changed enough to be the numbers of the cars. That was another prop I built. The numbers and colors, yeah.
Pin numbers and car parts.
Large cardboard black box.
What's crazy about Darren looking around here for that box is I never said it was a large cardboard black box. I said flat box. So Fernando understood what I was saying. He went out and got it. Look at the wings on your hair.
Yeah.
What happened to that? You've lost even that now.
Oh, I was so good. I'm so busy. It's hard to get a haircut. I want, every week. Okay, twice a year.
I look like a penguin.
Usually they're not.
The reason you saw that oval airplane running was because it's an N96 car. It's called their induction, so it uses that long oval airplaner. Like if you had a six-pack, would have used the same lid, different base, but the same lid. But look at this last minute bolting the hood back on it. I mean, this guy's on it.
Is off of my car?
I did not. Would you stop flattering yourself thinking I took a bunch of parts off the car? Yeah, I took parts off. You're darn tootin' I took parts off the car. You'll never know what they are.
Darn tootin'.
I know what Joe looks like. Oh, that right there with his little mustache. Darren's left eye's going closed like a serial killer. I'll never do one again. I'll never do one of these.
Huh?
Absolutely. Misery. All it's been is misery. All the way through.
Music across the street.
Hey, your grandma called. She wants her car back.
Classic episodes of Rate Your Cars.
You are a U-turn for humanity.
On 5, on the air. Classic Crew.
Oh, no.
Classic Thrills. Classic Woman.
You insult me, call me names.
Rate Your Cars Classics. Only on Speed.
Hello, I'm Bob Ross, and I'd like to welcome you to the Joy of Painting series. If this is your
Bill?
first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation. Peter Craig got your oil paints and brushes.
Well, yeah,
Came along with us each
it's
week.
closed
Place on
because of the fair.
masterpieces on canvas. We'll use
Got
a few big
racehorses.
brushes, a dozen colors or so, and I'll show you how easy it is to create some of the most fantastic paintings you've ever seen. Let's go up to the canvas here and get started.
Yes, our county fair is going on. It's a good thing I thought it was tomorrow or today, but kind of backwards. So tomorrow they have a Loretta Lynn cover band, and I'm not sure if it's free, but the admission tomorrow is like a food bank thing, so you could bring 3 items of whatever they put on the list. They get in for $1. After work, when I'm all whatever, go over there. I just have to go to the store. I gotta get peanut butter. I want to get a good can of chicken, and then it said rice or pasta or something.
I don't have all
We'll get something, right?
Judy.
You got 5 more minutes of my time.
This is Judy Justice.
Honestly, as much trouble as this car was, I think I'll have less actual trouble doing that CUDA.
It's Sonoma, Sonoma County.
This is it. You know, all those hours always culminate at the end into a beautiful car. And as soon as you're done, you forget all the misery and the pain and the suffering. And
At the end, he was pulling his
all of
hair
a
out.
sudden it's just done. You're happy. There were a
He
few
wasn't too
things on
happy,
that
but
car
now
we
look.
weren't done with. I mean, not much. A couple of trim pieces. I think the seat cover, they didn't make the hinge covers at that time. There's always a loopy-loo. But, you know, we did the best, and it was good. The Challenger that they brought out, that was a cool car. It was an RTSC 446 pack. Well, one of the coolest things, it was a black bar, burnt orange interior, leather seats, which is common and standard with the SE. But it was a rim blower wheel, it was an AM8 track, and it was a Gator
AM8
grain
track
roof. That was the V1G Gator grain, and It looks just like
B1G Gator Grade.
alligator skin.
Alligator skin.
It's okay.
Oh, baby
it's
cat.
alright. This is also an M91 car, so you see the luggage rack on the back. It's a very rare car.
It's got a rack on the back of it.
See the formal back roof?
No, we're watching Graveyard Cars,
Yeah.
the
I
100th
would like to
episode.
just redo
So
the
they're
whole
going back
car,
to the
and
very
it was
first
like,
show.
You know, now, like I said, I would have preferred that Coronet, to be honest.
He bought this car, it was so wrecked, but like, not custom, but try to make it back as original as possible.
$1,000 car today, compared to that Coronet still flopping around 78 grand. That's a dumb car. At the end of the day, it was a fairly smooth transaction. But boy, if you talk about the things that led up to it, that's what's always the toughest.
So he got it done, I guess, back in the day he had deadlines.
I love the finished shots. It just looks beautiful, right? It's gorgeous. But I hated it. I hated working on it because everything was red. And that's what the hardest part for me was.
Everything's
coming
red.
up with good red original parts. Some of the car was original. Some of the car was nice. And it had the parts, the good donor parts. Some of them didn't.
It's a
Some
weird
of the
car.
And some of the parts that we needed so much weren't there. And like I said, they just didn't make them. '69 Coronet done down the road. Happy customers on both ends as usual. Met my mark to a T. Larry ended up, he really liked the Challenger RTSC. I think he may still have that car. The owners that got this car, the dealership that got this car, sold it really quick. The Red Oak RV, yeah, they said that one went fast. At the end of this, you know, we were out of the woods on the unibody portion of the Phantom Cuda. So many things, so many moving parts back then, yeah. It's interesting when you sit back and watch the pilot now and you know what went into it to see where we've come right now and how much we have evolved as a show, a shop, as people. And this bit here at the end is one of my favorite bits. Watch behind us. See the lights starting to glow. The license plate lights up. And now this is the POV, point of view, from inside that license plate opening up. There's a camera looking out, and that's actually through the filler neck hole of the 71 Cuda. Like it's watching us talk about it. That's all. That never made it in the episode, but I thought that was such a neat bit. So I say the same thing to the people home. If you watch something like this and you think there are elements that you like, we'll try to put them back in. If you think there isn't a thing in there,
I think they should do cartoons because that thing was so classic.
Graveyard Cars is your show.
Graveyard,
It's not mine.
Who,
I might own it, but it's not my show. It's not Royal Show. It's not the producer show. It's the fans of Graveyard Car person of what they want to see.
So I guess that's why they got the name, because the poor thing was wrecked. So we think about this car instead of junk.
That's awesome. There you go. So to me, at the end of the day, I think that's pretty cool. Oh yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming over. You got.
Now they got a movie later.
You can go back to 100 episodes. We started filming the pilot 11 years ago, 07. This is 2018. First show was our very first airing of Graveyard Cars, Season 1, Episode 1, was on June 14th, 2012. Wow. So we're only a little over 6 years right now. Not even quite 6 years, about 5.5 years, and we've already hit 100 episodes. Nice. We getting cars out? At the end of the day, yeah, we're getting cars. Well, you wouldn't know because you're never here. Through the evolution of the Cuda. Again, you have to link that. Graveyard Cars, the show, the shop, and that Cuda are a testimony to the indomitable spirit of man. And that's, I know I like to get a little bit philosophical and dramatic.
He likes to say.
But look at it. They said the Cuda couldn't be done. They said GYC couldn't be done. They said the shop couldn't be done. Here it is today. Because we didn't accept no was an answer. If you remember at the end of Season 1, that car got dipped up in Portland. After it came back from the dipper, we looked at it and we inspected, I think, the first episode of Season 2. Then it went up in the rafters, and that's where it hung up until just a couple of years ago, where we got hot on it again. And at the end, when that car was done, we had a shop full of people. We had a whole world tuning in for the finale of that.
That's pretty.
And it's still one of the most celebrated and talked about cars on the planet today. I will ask this, Royal. People say, "Where's Royal? Where's Royal? What's Royal? Where's Royal?" If you would like to see Royal in the show more, he's every bit as part of, he's my brother. Of course he's part of Graveyard Cars. He'll never not be part of Graveyard Cars. But it'd be really great to have you chisel time out of your precious schedule to come over and film more.
It's hard to do when I have 2 jobs and my own business.
If you would like Royal to be in the show more, I would highly recommend stalking him on Facebook. Royal Yoakum, Y-O-A-K-U-M. Find him, send him a message that says, "Royal, we want to get you on the show more." There's a lot going on inside that baby of yours besides just malted barley and bong recipes.
Yes, there is.
You said bong hits. So you guys are pot smokers?
Good man, Charlie.
Yeah. There is. No, gee.
And then the guy got no hair, so we call him names like 8 Ball or Helmet Head or something. Or a bunch of characters there. Alright, let's go get my backpack.
And Chris, what am I doing here? You're here being a car guy, right? I'm a car guy. Make sure to check out our show 0 to 60 right here on Speed Vision. We're going to have our buddies come on, talk some cars, have some fun. Can I bring some celeb buddies on to talk about their cars? Absolutely. They love Speed Vision. Let's go, baby. Let's hit the ground rolling right here on 0 to 60.
You're funny.
That was a very interesting episode. I don't know where the remote is. I guess I should take it with me. I don't know how much battery I have. Maybe stop. Gonna waddle. Is it a live band? Can you hear it? If it works, I have to charge my lights. I don't think my tail lights really work. Turn up my light. Let's see. Oh, that doesn't work. was nice and cool. It was 98 degrees earlier today. We were watching TV and melting, right? It was so hot. I'm hungry. It was too late to eat over there. We would just get Jack of the Crack. We want to go In-N-Out Burger. I'm gonna find out how to go to eat in KFC because you cannot go inside no more. I don't know what happened. DoorDash or something. Kind of eyeballing me. I'll wash my backpack. I don't want my soap to disappear. I'll put it over here. I don't think there's any plastic. We could probably put it in there longer. Go check the box first. Alright. Pretty sure I have enough money. Jack in the Box pizza. We're blind, it's gonna take a minute. I'm gonna go smoke a cigar. Alright, so we're gonna eat at Jack in the Box. I don't know what to do about my backpack. I don't know if I should leave it in there and come back. I'll only put it in there for 10 minutes. Feels nice today. Swenson's? Oh, we watched the Antiques Roadshow in Cleveland, right? And they went to the Opera House or something. Hey, Sean Quinn. Oh yeah, Five Guys, we have that too. Five Guys really good. They cook it in some different kind of oil. I don't know if it's peanut butter or peanut oil or almond oil or something. I really like Five Guys. So it was funny as shit, right? So worked on the hill. And, you know, we usually go to El Pollo Loco or In-N-Out or something, right? So I go, no, let's go to Five Guys. Let's go to Five Guys, right? And like we all went out, and the guys I worked with, they didn't like it. We're like, all right, In-N-Out burger there. El Pollo Loco. But I think it's really good. Jersey Mike's, no, I've never had that. What about Fat Burgers? Have you ever had Fat Burgers? Or Johnny Rockets, right? I like it because you get an egg on it. You could have an egg on the burger. Or Johnny Rockets, Fat Burgers, put egg on it. And Johnny Rockets got those, what kind of Coke is it? Vanilla Cokes or some shit, right? I don't know if we have those anymore. Jersey Mike's, I think we had that in Vegas, but I don't think I ever ate there. They got sandwiches. Always fresh, yeah, always fresh, really good. Never frozen, never frozen. We ate at Oliver's for lunch, and then I ate the other part of it for a late lunch. Now we're eating dinner. It was so good, I don't know how come Mike disappeared. Gotta try it. I like Oliver's, a little pricey, but you get potato, right? You get potato, you get corn. All right, let's go inside. All right. What is it? $6 a pack. If you're in here, oh, Jack in the Box got a sale. Soda pop, onion rings, a taco. Tobacco bumming it. Watch out, watch out.
baby. You can have your cake now. Eat it.
Still waiting. I think I'm gonna go smoke my cigar again. Can't get down at stores. I think we should go get a donut. If my beer doesn't fall out of my butt first. Alright, I'm gonna go get my backpack. soap. I need a bag. All right, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome, man.
Come up here again. I have a thing about roadkill. About Deborah, they look at what he says. Smell. Alright, let's see if we can get a donut. Let's see if the donut place is open. Alright, I think we could get one. Let's see here. Oh, I think I have enough money. Well, we didn't really do a whole lot today, but we went to... well, we kind of missed church, but we made the coffee. Watched TV all day and then cleaning my backpack. Had a really good brunch. Now go eat Jack in the Box for dinner. Yum, yum. Alright, well, it was a wonderful Sunday, even though we didn't really do anything. We were watching the Antique Roadshow all day. It was cool. And we got to watch Graveyard Cars. What else were we watching? Look, now it's cooled off because it's nighttime. Feels nice. And what's better than one donut? We got two donuts. Oh shoot, we'd have no water. We gotta go get some water. Oh, hello doggy. Hello puppy. The doggy's so cute, got an outfit. Oh, it got a soap pop. It's okay. No water, got a soap pop. baby cats are running around. And then the ghost, he comes and eats, and he comes pretty close to me. He doesn't really get sketched out. One morning I had to go to work and put my bike outside, and he's just looking at me. Oh, the ghost, speaking of the ghost face. Let me see your ear, you handsome. Have you been eating? Yum, yum. Look, the ghost is here. What do you think? Yum, yum? Alright, chow time. So, hope everyone's having a wonderful Sunday. Oh, the baby cat. The ghost. Big socks. How are you? Let me see your ear. Alright, I think we're all bearded out. Didn't really drink a whole lot today. Got some donuts. Some laundry soap. We don't want that next to my donuts. Alright. Oh, hello, baby cat. Little baby cat. Look, he right here, the baby cat. It's kind of cute. A little varmint. Oh, hello, you little baby cat. Are you still hungry? Here, we'll give you one more. This stuff really is supposed to be for a baby cat. So you've got milk. I'm stuffing it. Alright, come on. Come over here, baby cat. Give him some goodies. Alright, come and eat. Yum, yum. Alright, we have to say grace. Give thanks for this wonderful meal. We got the double sourdough burger. Junk. Got a fork. Oh, you want some french fries? I don't really like Jack in the Box french fries, but Mama Crow does. Amen. Mm-hmm. We got Gatorade grape. Inside. Oh, look, the baby cat eating. Oh, you can't see it because my cup is in the way. Look at the baby cat. Can you see the baby cat? Right. Baby socks. And the other cat. I don't want you to see me eating. So you just look at the little varmint over there. You want french fry? I like french fries for some reason. Well, if I'm sitting out there, it'll kind of come and eat that one will. The other ones are kind of skittish, but they come, like, you know, they'll come around, but they won't come up like that one will. So they just started coming around. So we got sourdough, double sourdough burger. So you got double the bacon. You want to watch some TV? Huh, Katie? Let's see, where's the remote? Have you seen the remote, Katie? I don't know where it is. Oh, but this locks. I don't know what to do with it. Oh, it's right here. Can you see the baby cat? He's eating. Oh, look, here come. You want to watch a movie, huh, baby cat? Enough of graveyard cars. Alright, the ghost is out there. You can see him. Baby cat, you got baby food out there. Oh, look, here comes the ghost. The ghost is eating them. It's an interesting day, though. Let's see, it's been a month since I said put AI on hold. Let's see the new robot. And we've been watching these Star Wars things. Who's the blob? The blob. Family Guy, Batman. Superheroes. What is this one? Halo 4. Oh, look at that one. Is it Sinbad? Oh, look at the monkey. This one is a documentary about ants. Hey, baby cat. Come say hello. You want more French fries? You don't even know what it is. Never saw French fry before, huh?
Humanity by 6 orders of magnitude, by 1.5 million times. And it's not some bacteria. These creatures have created a fully functional social order. They have a clear hierarchy.
Look at how weird they are.
And career ladders. They're long past the hunting and gathering stage, and as successfully transitioned to agriculture and animal husbandry. They teach the youth, take care of the elderly and the disabled, and bury their dead.
Aw.
They can even
Oh, I know that. They bury their own time.
They've easily outlived every single species that prevailed on their planet in the last 100 million years. But at the same time, a simple infection can turn them into real zombies. Does it seem like some post-apocalyptic science fiction to you? And yet, it's not. It's all about ants. In this video,
It was zombie ants.
how many ants there are on Earth, how much they weigh, when they emerge, how they live, how they practice agriculture.
They said 10 quadrillion ants.
And much more that will surprise and even shock you.
Ooh, it's an alien.
You can't possibly be powerful.
Alexa, how much is 10 quadrillion?
Let go.
10 quadrillion is equal to 10 to the 16th power. In decimal notation, it is written as 1 followed by 16 zeros. It would take about 317.1 million years to count to 10 quadrillion if you counted up one number per second.
It's very interesting. Thank you, Alexa. So we're watching TV. Oh yeah, baby Sock's right there. Look, she's laying down. Oh, the baby cat outside.
We've all seen ants and may have a vague idea of how many ants there are on the planet. But few people are even approximately close in their estimation because the real numbers are somewhat mind-blowing. Today, there are 14,218 species of ants alone. And this is not considering the additional 1,758 subspecies. Nobody really knows the total number of these creatures.
Look, the baby cat is in here.
Most commonly, the ant
Oh,
population
there's
is
another one.
estimated
Another
to be
one.
at about 10 quadrillions. That is 10,000 trillion individuals. Yes, I know. It's hard to wrap
10,000
your head
trillion.
around this figure. In total, this giant biomass weighs approximately tens of billions of kilograms. What's interesting is that this figure exceeds the total weight of humanity as far back as 2,000 years ago. Ants inhabit all corners of the planet and all continents except Antarctica.
Oh, there's some polar bear ants.
110 to 130 million years ago, probably in the Laurasia supercontinent. Historically, they come from ancient wasps. But scientists
Oh, they
haven't
come
yet
from wasps.
identified any specific wasp species as their ancestors. And despite ants' close resemblance to termites, the two shouldn't be confused.
Oh, they look like
are
termites a
usually
little
related
bit.
to them and are closer to cockroaches based on their family tree. Ants can vary in size by an order of magnitude. The smallest is about 2 millimeters long, and the largest species can reach several centimeters. The largest fossil ants in history belong to the genus Formicula. Their females reach 7 centimeters long, with a wingspan of up to 15 centimeters.
Well, it's a monster ant, dinosaur ant.
Yes, ants have wings, and we aren't talking about different species. In general, all ants belong to the Hymenoptera order, which might give it away, as terra means a wing in Latin. But for the most part, only females and males have wings, and worker ants are wingless. Hold on, what? Does it mean that workers are neither females nor males? That's not a mistake, as we deliberately distinguish between worker ants, males, and females. In fact, worker ants are technically females, but they have an underdeveloped reproductive system which effectively renders them asexual. How do they reproduce then? Well, they don't. In the ant community, reproduction is a privilege, an honor, and a great responsibility.
For the queen.
Having this privilege doesn't have to do with being the fittest or strongest one, but comes by birth. Being a highly diverse species, ants have many reproductive strategies. The most common one is the usual mating of a male with a female. But this seems ordinary only at first glance. In fact, ant reproduction is filled with such a powerful mix of drama, romance, and grotesque that people never dreamed of.
The male ants have wings. So do some of the queens.
It all starts with a nuptial flight. This is a special time for insects when new colonies appear at all planet latitudes where comes the spring. Winged females and males leave the nest to mate and form new families. This is the only time in the life of ants when they use their wings for their intended purpose. Ant wings are clumsy and function poorly. Females often climb high plant stems and use them as a launching pad to start their flight. Males are more agile and often take off directly from the ground. Mating itself happens in the air, right in mid-flight. Yes, nature is sometimes that romantic.
Like flies.
But that's where the romance ends. After mating, the male no longer has any life purpose and soon dies. What does the female do? She flies away from her former home. Upon landing, it immediately bites off its own wings.
Oh, it's bite off them.
Because she doesn't need them anymore. The female is fertilized only once in her life. There will never be a second flight. Ever. The future queen begins to look for a place to form a new colony. The genetic material left by the male is enough for the female to lay fertilized eggs throughout her life. And queens live for a very long time, up to 12 to 20 years, depending on the species. Simple worker ants live no more than 5 years. However, it's worth noting that such breeding patterns are typical for most ant species, but not all. In some species, workers can also mate and produce offspring. And in some species, hit the other extreme and reproduce by cloning.
Cloning? Ooh.
No laboratories or test tubes, but the idea is somewhat similar. For example, ant species called Mycoseporus smithii reproduces by parthenogenesis. In this type of reproduction, females emerge from unfertilized eggs.
Here, eat
and
it.
These are not some extra eggs that the males didn't have time to get to. The thing is that
want
there
no
is
Jack in
no
the
one
Box?
to fertilize them. There are simply no males.
Right.
In the process of evolution, the species deemed them to be non-essential. When colonies of Mycoseporus smithii were discovered in the Amazon basin, scientists were amazed at this turn of natural
Try
evolution.
tip sandwich she ate out of my hand,
All
right?
individuals
Jack in the Box
in the
now.
colony were females, and all of them were exact copies of the same queen, and naturally, each other. The data was published and reported by the research team in Proceedings of the Royal Society.
Clone ant.
The researchers admitted that they stumbled upon this amazing fact by accident. They noticed that the males were missing while studying other aspects of this species' life. Not being able to identify males in the nest based on external signs, scientists conducted a DNA analysis of the individuals they collected. They found that all of them were indeed females, and that they were all queen clones. After that, scientists found that the most important reproductive organ in a queen, the copulatory bag, has completely lost its function. However, several years later, large-scale research revealed that individual populations of this species didn't completely lose sexual reproduction. But this doesn't change anything, since 90% of all selected individuals in all of South and Central America turned out to be clones. Coming from different queens, but still clones. And this means that Mycocephalus smithii finally choose its reproduction method. It is trying to
It's so perfect. So freshly baked. Quality and convenience. Let's get. When breakfast tastes picture perfect, that's Gravy Days. A&P and too much good stuff. Tungus!
The right mattress makes everything clear.
My neck feels better. I could be one of those guys that starts to wave.
The right mattress knows.
We'll find
Yum, yum. How's everyone doing?
Readjustable base mattress.
Meg 2. Oh, looked like a good movie.
Because this reproduction method can't provide sufficient diversity. The species becomes extremely vulnerable to external threats and may face rapid extinction. However, the disappearance of one species doesn't affect the stability of the ant kingdom as a whole. These guys easily outlived the dinosaurs, so they're unlikely to be seriously endangered. And given how ant society works, it's time to think that these guys may well build some kind of alternative civilization. In terms of social structure, ants are the closest to humans on Earth. Each new discovery in myrmecology, the science of ants, proves this once and again. The anthill has a strict hierarchy and distribution of roles. The nest is managed by the queen, the founder of the colony, who lays eggs. The queen is surrounded by a retinue of 10 to 12 worker ants, who serve her by feeding and taking care of her in every possible way. As a rule, mostly young ants do this. This is literally a kind of social practice that all nest inhabitants go through for about a month. The task of such trainees is to take care of the queen, eggs or larvae. Mature individuals go to the farthest part of the anthill patrolling area where they engage in foraging. The ant brings the food it has found to the authorities, who decide how it gets distributed throughout the anthill. In addition to food, the anthill is also fed with a special pheromone, an odorous substance secreted by the queen. It contains information about her health. Ants from the retinue lick this substance from the queen, carry it in a special goiter, and pass it on to each other one by one. Thus, all individuals of the ant society are connected to one information space.
How weird.
A small-town social network of ants, if you will.
Hello, Rudy Paul.
What's interesting about ants' life is how they bring up their offspring. Ants can learn interactively, that is, acquire knowledge based on someone else's experience rather than their own mistakes. This is generally something extraordinary for insects. The most experienced and tough forager hunter is the first to attack the prey. It shows the young get skills on how to attack, sting, and kill. That's how it teaches the younger generation hunting skills. But in order to learn successfully, one needs to have a good memory. And the ants can't complain. Active foragers who look for food on their own can perfectly know their hunting area and remember how to get home. If the ant path is blocked by an intricate labyrinth, the foragers will eventually find a passage after wandering through some nooks and crannies. And then they remember the labyrinth path for at least 4 days, even if they have to stay put due to bad weather during this time. Ants have a good sense of time and effectively use it. If a feeder is placed strictly at a certain time near the ant path, the foragers will quickly remember the time when the food appears, and will gather at this site just in time. If the feeding stops, the ants will still come to this place for another 5 days at the very same time.
Oh, wow.
Fido ants are very well organized.
They know
At
the
the first
time.
warning signal, they only prepare the family property for moving. They bring the larvae and pupae to the exit, and only a small part to the
Look
surface.
at this head. He looked funny. Your head, what happened to your head?
The ants
Your
don't
head's
actually
bugging,
start fleeing until the danger is confirmed. Given such a complex interaction, how do thousands of ants manage to communicate effectively? How do they know where to go, what to do, and how do they remember all this data? In fact, they don't have to remember anything, and their communication methods are much richer than they seem.
They talk.
Ants don't have ears as humans do.
No ears?
They hear by measuring vibrations. Special knee and leg sensors help them pick up the vibrations around. Some ants make sounds by stridulation, a characteristic chirping produced with the stomach and jaw segments. Sounds can be used to communicate with the colony members or even with other species. But perhaps the main communication method is the smell. Ants leave pheromone traces on the soil surface, which are easily picked up by other individuals. In species that feed in groups, the foraging ants mark the trail on its way back to the colony after finding something tasty. Other ants follow this trail and reinforce it with their pheromones when they go back to the colony with food. When the food source runs out, the returning ants leave no new trails, and the smell slowly dissipates. This behavior helps the ants cope with environmental changes. For example, when an established path to a food source is blocked by an obstacle, foragers leave that path to explore new routes. If successful, the ant leaves a new trail indicating the shortest path on its return.
The ant who remembers the direction, I think, at the time.
We've all got a confidence routine. That song you listen to while you brush your teeth. That little speech you give yourself before a big meeting. Give your routine a boost and enjoy sunbed or spray tanning for under $15 a month. Palm Beach Tan, featuring Australian Gold.
Successful trails are followed by more ants who reinforce the best routes.
Close their eyeballs.
This is how ants form their famous trails. Ants use pheromones for more than just trails. A squashed ant emits an alarm pheromone that drives nearby ants into an attack frenzy and attracts ants from afar. Some ant species even use misleading pheromones to confuse enemy ants and cause them to attack each other.
Enemy
Pheromones
ants
are produced by many structures in the ants' bodies. Dufour's glands, venom glands, as well as the glands in the hindgut, coccyx, rectum, sternum, and hind leg are all used for pheromone communication. Ants also exchange pheromones with each other, mixing them with food, thereby transmitting information within the colony. This allows other ants to determine which task group other family members belong to. Also, some ant types have more than one queen in the colony, but a whole cast of queens. And when the dominant queen stops producing a specific pheromone, it signals a change in power. The workers begin to take care of another queen, who becomes the dominant one. The variety of communication modes combined with tiny but extremely rational brains give ants an amazing advantage in building a civilization-like society. Being infinitely far from higher mammals, and especially people, ants nonetheless turn out to be capable of agriculture and animal breeding, in the most real sense of the word. Most ants are generic predators, scavengers, and herbivores. Many herbivorous ant species rely on a unique symbiosis with their own gut microbes to enhance the nutritional value of the plant food they harvest.
How weird.
But many ant species have achieved some remarkable results by following the path that was once chosen by humans. Specifically, ants have developed their own brand of agriculture. This practice is spread so widely that ant farming can now be clearly classified. The most primitive, lower agriculture was mastered by 80 ant species.
Hello, everyone. We're just
34 species of ants grow.
Oh, you're watching
for their
Seinfeld.
needs.
We're watching
And 18
ants.
species practice yeast breeding.
Yeast breeding.
Finally,
Like
63 ant species have mastered higher agriculture. They learn to grow mushrooms and create entire mushroom gardens.
Oh, they grow mushrooms. They like
What's even more surprising, some special mushroom varieties have emerged that were literally domesticated by generations of ants. These mushrooms can no longer survive in the wild, but only at ant farms, under the watchful care of these amazing creatures.
Wow, what a trip. But
A
yeah,
colony
they
of
go
leaf-cutting
mushrooms.
ants represents a good example of such agriculture. They arrange entire mushroom plantations
It's
and use
still warm
finely
inside.
chopped
It's cool
leaves
out here.
as a substrate. Yes, you heard that right. The ants bring the leaves to the colony and cut them into small pieces to use as fertilizer. And even in agriculture, ants retain a clear specialization and a set of professions. Basically, an ant's job depends on the size of the individual. The larger workers cut the stems. Smaller individuals gnaw the leaves into pieces, and the smallest tend to the plantation.
Kind of hard to see.
They even protect mushrooms from harmful bacteria. The bacteria that produce substances that act as an antibiotic against other bacteria that are dangerous to fungi live on the outer surface of the ant's body. Leafcutter ants are sensitive enough to recognize the fungus's reaction to various plant materials by picking up mushrooms' chemical signals. If a certain type of leaf is found to be toxic to fungi, the colony will remember it and won't pick it again. Such a high level of self-organization of ant communities can shock almost anyone. As if this wasn't enough, the ants went one step further. How do you like the fact that ants have also managed to master animal husbandry?
Oh, you got friends.
Part of being active and formidable predators, especially considering their size, ants have learned to keep livestock. But instead of cattle, they breed aphids, who secrete special nectar called honeydew, which is a valuable high-energy food. Ants graze aphids on nearby plants and take care of them, protecting them from other predators. They learn not only to collect the nectar secreted by aphids, but also to literally milk these tiny insects. To milk an aphid, the ant tickles its abdomen with its antennae, and the aphid obediently releases excess nectar at the ant's first request. Interestingly, this doesn't even come close to parasitism, since without ants' care, aphids die much sooner from other predators. When migrating to another area, many ant colonies take aphid herds with them. The parallels with our animal farming are quite obvious here. Looking at all these achievements, one might think that ants represent some kind of flawless life form. They have an invincible, incredibly precise, and rational collective consciousness. However, their way of life only seems to be flawless at first sight, as it has some major downsides. And when taken collectively, these downsides may sometimes lead to a full-blown tragedy.
They got computers.
What's this? Are the ants celebrating something?
Run around a circle.
Or perhaps a ritual dance? No, this is the so-called death circle.
Oh, the death circle. Ooh, scary.
Almost all of these ants will soon die. They will continuously spin in this deadly circle to the point of complete exhaustion.
Ooh, how weird. I've never seen
My dog Harry is fueled by Pro Plan Sport.
Hello, baby cat. Hello, baby cat.
But what for? And why? In reality, this phenomenon occurs due to a system error.
You all woke up?
Remember, we've mentioned how well pheromone trail marking works for ants. But even though developed through millions of years of evolution, this system might play a cruel joke on ants. If a group of ants makes several turns in the same direction along the route, and they stumble upon its own odor trail, left just a minute ago. After walking along the path, the insect makes the same turns again, going back to the same point, and the cycle repeats over and over again.
Oh, you don't know that.
The most annoying thing is that when following their own footsteps many times, the ants keep on secreting pheromones. In doing so, they reinforce this vicious circle and their own confidence that they're going in the right direction. Ththese cheerful and unsuspecting ants are joined by their friends who have absolutely no idea as to what caused this massive procession. The result of this march is easily predictable. Thousands of individuals die from exhaustion in this deadly dance. Only an accidental external intervention can save them. The largest death circle was observed by the U.S. traveler William Beebe in 1921 in Guyana. He claimed that Esoton ants created a 365-meter wide circle, and their self-destructive march lasted 2 days. By the way, such whirlwinds aren't that rare, and almost all types of ants can be sucked into the death circle. Unfortunately, ants do this as a part of ingrained behavior patterns. Such accidents happen all the time where there are several ant trails nearby. However, we simply walk by most of them, and often only a few individuals fall into the trap. On open and flat terrains, such circles may reach truly gigantic proportions. And it looks creepy. The ants behave like some kind of zombie.
A zombie ant.
But did you know that ants can actually become zombies? No kidding.
In a death circle. Because the main circle is but the more joining
zombie apocalypse
who is zombie
we see in movies is an infection that turns people into creepy, mindless creatures. But nature has a similar eerie scenario. This is Cordyceps lopsided. It seems to be a harmless fungus. But if ants had dreams, this fungus would surely be their worst nightmare. Being infected with the spores of this fungus is the most terrible thing that can happen to an ant.
It's a mushroom, a different kind.
What's even worse, the parasite affects the victim's sense of smell, its main communication channel. As a result, the infected individual loses contact with its friends, strays far away, and doesn't get back to the colony. At this stage, the fungus already controls its behavior, looking for optimal conditions to fully mature. Eventually, the fungus causes the ant to find a cool, damp spot and bite down on the bottom of the leaf on the branch. Once the ant bites the leaf, it can no longer let it go, as the fungus blocks muscle function. The fungus keeps on growing inside the ant's body until it eventually pierces its head and releases new spores. This whole process takes about 10 painful days, and most of the time, the insect is alive. A real nightmare, isn't it? Science has long known of this phenomenon, but until now, scientists have been unable to understand exactly how the parasitic fungus can control the ant's mind. It has often been called a brain parasite, but a study from February 2021, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, disproves this theory. It turns out that the insect's brain remains intact, and the ant is being controlled by introducing the mycelium into the muscle fibers throughout the body. In fact,
it's mycelium.
An infected ant becomes an exoskeleton and a means of fungus transportation,
Mycelium.
while ant tissue cells are partially replaced by fungi.
That stuff's really good for your
That
brain.
is, the ant effectively becomes one with the fungus. Like a real puppeteer, fungus pulls the strings, forcing the ant to perform this terrible scenario. Having no chance to get rid of this zombie influence. Nonetheless, despite all their weaknesses,
Oh, look, the rainforest
ants
mycelium.
firmly occupy their niche in the Earth's biosphere, and the structure of their society and how closely it resembles human civilization is even a little shocking. Who knows what kind of civilization leap they might make in the future?
I want to see this one.
I was afraid things were going to get worse. I had to do something. I started consenting.
Oh, darn it. Where is it? No, that's music. Alexa, what time is it?
The time is 10:09 p.m.
Oh, we have to go to sleep. This one. Let's see what this one is. Oh, the baby cat. Can you see the little baby cat outside?
Do you have any idea how many times computer capabilities increased from the 1940s to the present day? Take a guess. Hundreds of times? Thousands? Well, actually, they've increased by hundreds of trillions of times. And this is just the beginning. Many scientists predict that computer capabilities will increase by millions of times in the coming decades. This means we'll be able to create virtual worlds so complex that their characters will be as complex as we are. In other words, they would have consciousness, just like us. But they wouldn't know they are living in a simulation. Wait a minute. What if we are those very characters? Sounds preposterous, doesn't it? But does it really? For instance, Elon Musk firmly believes that we are living in a simulation and often talks about it in interviews. He literally said, there's a 1,000,000,000 to 1 chance we're living in base reality. But Musk is not alone here. More and more people with academic degrees are saying the same thing. Today, we'll find out the odds of us really living in a simulation, what evidence points to this, and explore the implications of this knowledge if in fact this is true. Do we live in a simulation? Please give us a thumbs up. Your like helps YouTube algorithms understand that this content is worth watching.
Is that it? Oh, baby cats. The baby cats are outside. They're so cute. Well, we're gonna go to bed. I have to wind it down and get ready for work and stuff. So it's a pretty good day today. Didn't really do a whole lot. It was awesome.
To understand the first piece of evidence, we need to know the basic principles of how computer games, simulations, and metaverses work. We move our character within a game, and the game engine quickly generates the entire surrounding in front of us. City streets.
What is it, the AI?
Cars. Other people in the game. All of this appears only at the moment when the character is looking at it. There is simply nothing outside of this field of view. absolutely nothing, not even emptiness. Or let's say you're wearing VR glasses. When you look straight ahead, everything behind you doesn't load, and it doesn't become visible or real until you turn your head. Yet, whatever has been in front of you instantly vanishes as soon as you turn around. But then, when you take off the VR headset and look at the real world, everything unfolds exactly the same. So the question is, how do we know that something exists if we're not directly looking at it? What if the universe really uses the same principle, showing us whatever we observe? This is where we come to the evidence suggesting that our world is virtual.
Virtual.
The first piece of evidence. You might be familiar with the observer effect. This fascinating phenomenon became recognized as a result of Young's experiment, also known as the double-slit experiment. YouTube is full of detailed explanations and demonstrations of this experiment, all because it is the most famous experiment in the history of physics, which has been repeated the most number of times, with the most shocking results and the most accurate measurements ever.
Well, let's do it.
In a nutshell, the experiment boils down to the following. Light behaves in a very strange way when its structure is scrutinized. As we know, light is electromagnetic waves. However, when you start measuring the properties of a specific light beam with the greatest precision, it no longer behaves as a wave, but as a stream of particles. There is no contradiction or error here, merely a paradox scientists encounter when delving into the subtle levels of matter. To put it simply, when unmeasured, light acts as a wave, but when measured, it acts as particles. This might sound unconvincing if you talk about such semi-abstract things, but in fact, this is quite a startling paradox. It's like saying that when you look at a cup of coffee, it's a cup of coffee, but when you don't, it's the sound of the sea. In other words, if you observe light with high precision, it abruptly changes its basic characteristics, as if it knows it's being observed. Once again, this explanation is very simplified and doesn't describe all the amazing effects discovered during the experiment. The Young experiment has been replicated by various scientists and enthusiasts an unimaginable number of times, each time confirming that everything indeed works in this unfathomable way. One might ask, what difference does it make what happens in this quantum world? However, similar effects were observed not only with light, but also with electrons and individual atoms, the basic building blocks of all matter that surrounds us. This train of thought takes us to a staggering conclusion. Does this mean that if I'm not observing the moon, it doesn't exist at that moment? Well, it turns out so. Although, of course, everything is much more complex than that. We simplify it just to make it easier for you to understand the next argument. The second piece of evidence. Now, let's consider another peculiar setting of our world that blatantly stands out. The speed of light. It is constant, unchangeable, and cannot be exceeded under any circumstances. Doesn't it instill a sense of doom, or even a little unfair? You can't help but say, what the hell? But let's look at the speed of light from a different perspective. For instance, let's consider the clock speed of your laptop or smartphone processor. It's a fixed number of gigahertz, clearly stated in the technical specifications. You can't exceed it. It's simply impossible. Somehow, we calmly accept this as a given. How else could it be, after all? Yet, the limitation of the speed of light sparks outrage in many of us. So, what if the unalterable speed of light merely reflects the maximum computing power of the mysterious machinery controlled by even more mysterious architects of our world? A world that might actually be a simulation. The fixed limit of 300,000 kilometers per second does seem peculiar. Let's see how it works. As an object's speed increases, its time slows down. This has been proven by numerous experiments. We know this for certain. time completely stops for any object moving at a speed of 300,000 kilometers per second. This means that if you had a spaceship capable of accelerating to the speed of light, and you decided to fly to a distant galaxy 3 billion light years away, you'd get there in an instant. But it would only be an instant for you, as the time on the ship would completely stop during the flight. However, back on Earth, 3 billion years would have passed. So photons of light indeed move at a speed of 300,000 kilometers per second, and therefore their time stands still. This makes it impossible to go any faster, because to increase the speed, you'd have to slow down time even more, which is already at 0. This raises a question. Why is it that speed slows down time in our universe? Why are space and time interconnected? Why on earth does our reality have such a strange limitation? Why should it be there at all? It seems highly unusual for a physical world, but perfectly reasonable for a virtual one. If we live in a computer simulation, then the speed of light might be a product of information processing. Information. Please bear this word in mind. The speed of light limitation is often described not only as something cannot move faster than light, but as information cannot be transmitted faster than the speed of light. Don't you see this striking analogy with the world of information technology? It seems that the principle of information exchange in our universe resembles that within our computers.
Cookies don't bake goods, they bake grapes.
They're gooder than good.
Are you guys just
Anyways.
spider to get another cookie?
Possibly.
Okay.
When the cookies are freshly baked in store,
Bigfoot.
that's great convenience. AM, PM, too much good stuff. Tungus!
Harbor Freight.
The third piece of evidence.
See what else it says.
Discreteness of space and time. In modern physics, there is a measurement system called the Planck unit. According to this system, the smallest measurable unit of space is 1.6 times 10 to the power of minus 35 meters. It's impossible to measure a length smaller than this unit. What's more, this is the minimum length that can possibly exist. There is simply nothing smaller than this in the universe. Even empty space is not continuous, but consists of such infinitesimally small chunks. Moreover, segments shorter than this cannot exist in our physical universe. Otherwise, all known physical laws would be violated. Doesn't this ring a bell? It's literally like pixels on a computer screen.
It is?
The image on the screen can't be smaller than 1 pixel. But the story doesn't end here. This pixelated nature of the universe has further implications, and it's truly breathtaking to realize that. Bear with us for a bit. Pixels on the screen exist constantly, whether light is projected on them or not. Similarly, cells of space the size of 1 Planck length constantly exist in the physical universe, and they do so regardless of whether there's something in them at a specific moment. You probably know that the screen doesn't continuously emit light, but refreshes at a certain frequency. The most common is 60 Hertz, 1/60th of a second. The image on the screen changes during this brief period. Similarly, in the physical universe, there's a minimum measurable time akin to the minimal length known as Planck time. This amount is also infinitesimally small, 5.4 times 10 to the power of minus 44 seconds. As light travels through space, it sequentially occupies adjacent cells of space, one after another. The movement of a quantum photon of light between neighboring cells occurs instantaneously in a leap, since a quantum is indivisible and cannot travel in parts. The time light spends in one cell equals 1 Planck unit of time. The cells of space are stationary, so while light occupies a cell, it remains stationary too. Taking into account the size of the cell and Planck time, you can calculate the maximum speed of light. This means that the speed of light is determined by the size of the cell and the minimum unit of time. As a photon jumps from one cell to another, staying in them for only 1 Planck unit of time, it reaches the maximum speed of 300,000 kilometers per second. Planck time suggests that the universe exists for this brief duration. Then it seems to completely vanish, only to rematerialize during the next Planck unit of time. The universe flickers, just like the image on a computer screen. The sole difference is that a computer screen refreshes 60 times per second, while the universe refreshes 5.4 times 10 to the power of minus 44 times per second. Our senses can't detect such a high refresh rate of the universe, and so we perceive the world as continuously existing, just like we don't notice the flicker on the computer screen. Finally, here is the currently strongest fourth piece of evidence that we live in a virtuality. This is quantum entanglement. To understand its essence, we need to look at it from afar again. Imagine a microparticle, such as a photon of light, flying through space. Each such particle has a characteristic: spin. Very roughly, it can be compared to the spin direction. In fact, the photon does not rotate at all, but for the sake of understanding, let's assume such an analogy. So when all physicists on the planet puzzled over the reasons of such mystical results of Jung's experiment, Einstein, who did not like this mysticism at all, proposed an interesting experiment which would have to disprove the observer effect.
Oh, what did Einstein?
I have a surprise for you.
Oh, look, it's still warm in here. It's so cool outside.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
I have a surprise to Catherine tonight.
Free cancellation on most days. Booking.com, booking.
Yeah.
Its essence is as follows. If a cesium atom emits 2 photons in different directions, their states get interrelated because of the law of conservation of momentum. This is called quantum entanglement, and it's determined by spin. If one of the entangled photons spins from top to bottom, then the second photon should spin from bottom to top, i.e., have the opposite spin. It's unambiguous, and there are no exceptions. It's like a pair of gloves. If one of them is right, then the other is definitely left, sure as hell. And experiments confirmed it at first. Indirectly, it turned out that the entangled photons already contain information about what spin they possess. But Jung's experiment, which was repeated, checked and rechecked in Einstein's time for countless times, proved that the entangled photons just have no idea what spin they should have, until they're measured. It seemed that Einstein was right once again, and there was something wrong with quantum physics. But 17 years after Einstein's death, another scientist, John Bell, did something impossible. He came up with one incredibly cunning and very complicated experiment that would prove or disprove the theory that elementary particles have information about their spin embedded in them in advance. The experiment results were astonishing. They clearly and explicitly showed that before observation, particles really know nothing about how they will spin when their state is measured. Simply put, before the measurement, they just don't have any spin. This property only appears after the measurement. The photon randomly chooses its spin, and that's why the comparison to gloves is inappropriate. Okay, so what? It appears that entangled particles can easily transmit information to each other much faster than the speed of light. If you spread the entangled photons even to different ends of the universe, measure one of them, and find out that it has an upspin, then the second one will have a downspin instantly. Physicists were totally stunned by this. No one could understand how such a thing was even possible. In 2008, a group of Swiss researchers from the University of Geneva set out to determine how quickly the second entangled particle learns that the first has been measured. They scattered two entangled photons 18 kilometers apart, measured one particle, and began to record the rate at which the second particle would react to it. The scientists had the technology to detect a delay of 100,000 times the speed of light, but no delay was detected. That meant that entangled photons could communicate with each other at least 100,000 times faster than the speed of light, and most likely instantaneously. Although Einstein was wrong about entangled photons, he may still have been right about one thing. That's when he said that instantaneous communication in the physical world was impossible. Well, maybe it is impossible in the real physical world. What he didn't realize is that we are probably living in a digital, virtual reality. And that's where instantaneous communication is very easy to explain from this point of view. Let's say photons are some sort of equivalent of pixels on a screen. When two pixel photons become entangled, their programs combine to jointly manage the 2 points. If one program is responsible for the top spin and the other for the bottom spin, their joining will be responsible for both pixels wherever they are. When one entangled particle is measured, its program randomly selects one of its spins, and the program of the second entangled particle responds accordingly by assigning it the opposite spin. This code ignores distance, because the processor doesn't have to literally walk to a pixel on the screen and ask it to spin upside down, even if the screen is as big as the universe itself. And by the way, maybe the fact that we're all part of a computer simulation explains the Fermi paradox. We covered the Fermi paradox in another video. Check it out. The link is in the upper right corner. Could it be that we still haven't encountered other life forms simply because they are just not programmed into our simulation? However, this same assumption might suggest that they could be discovered at any moment. Who knows what the universe's game designers have programmed there after all? There's another astonishing phenomenon, this time not in the realm of physics, but society. In 2009, a self-proclaimed paranormal consultant, Fiona Broome, stumbled upon a rather peculiar fact. Contrary to her belief, the world-renowned human rights advocate Nelson Mandela had not died in prison during the 1980s. Instead, he had been released in 1990. And even managed to serve as the president of South Africa for several years. One might dismiss these assertions as mere fantasies of a paranormal consultant. However, Fiona Broome was so convinced that she distinctly remembered newspaper headlines announcing Mandela's death that she decided to conduct a full investigation. The results were mind-blowing. A surprising number of people, entirely unconnected to each other, also held the same belief. Many even claimed to remember Nelson Mandela's daughter's eulogy at his imagined funeral. The phenomenon took on a global scale when the politician eventually died in 2013. At that time, thousands of people around the world were taken aback by the news. Like Broome, they were under the impression that Mandela had died in prison during the 1980s. Fiona Broome named this phenomenon the Mandela effect. Yet, this was just the beginning of this very peculiar social phenomenon. With the rise of social networks, it quickly became evident that thousands of people from around the globe firmly believe in certain facts that aren't actually true, or their beliefs slightly, yet distinctively, deviate from reality.
Can I have some Lay's? What you watching?
The FIFA Women's World Cup. Can I show you?
Imagine this is Mia Hamm.
Whoa. What the?
Mia takes the ball downfield and passes it to the Doritos Abby Wambach. She shoots!
Let's consider some typical examples. This is what the logo of Volkswagen, the German automotive conglomerate, looks like. And here's how thousands of people remember this logo. Monopoly Man and his monocle. The Monopoly character wearing a top hat sports a monocle, but in fact, he doesn't. Jif, not Jiffy. People swear that there was a Jiffy peanut butter back in the day, but we speculate they're combining Jif with its competitor, Skippy, Pikachu's tail. Though many of us clearly remember black detailing on the Pokemon character's tail, in reality, it's just yellow. C-3PO has a silver leg. Even the biggest Star Wars fans get it wrong. The robot isn't all gold. He has one silver piece on his right leg. There are quite a few examples like this. The sheer number of people with identical false beliefs led proponents of the simulation hypothesis to tentatively propose that these might suggest the glitches in the software running our virtual universe. Of course, these assumptions may seem to lean heavily towards the realm of popular science fiction, but the wide incidence of the Mandela effect still urges us not to discard it entirely. Where did the idea that we are living in a simulation come from? And why do some people believe it is possible? The world's first truly working programmable computer, the ENIAC, performed about 5,000 operations per second in the 1940s. Today's fastest computer is the Frontier HPE Cray EX235. It computes at a speed of just over 1 exaflops. Here's what that number looks like. 1 quintillion operations per second. That is, today's most powerful computer is more powerful than the first one by a factor of 200 trillion. It's been less than a century. If things continue moving at the same pace, then what? Even simple logic suggests that in the future, we'll be able to simulate entire universes. But if such a possibility exists, who knows? Maybe it's already happened. In 2003, Swedish philosopher and Oxford University professor Nick Bostrom published a serious scientific work with a simple and a little frightening title, Simulation Argument. We will try to explain in a simple way what the authoritative and globally recognized scientist came up with. So Nick Bostrom has 5 assumptions, and if all of them are true, then you, dear viewer, are probably living in a simulation. The first assumption: it is possible to simulate consciousness. This is a very important point. As you have noticed, all this time we have been skirting around the issue of consciousness. Let's suppose we've created a super complex simulation with exactly the same people as us running around. These bots, these NPCs, are also so sophisticated, let's say that they're capable of wondering if they're in the simulation. But wait, how can they think about anything? They're soulless programs. After all, you wouldn't think your smartphone could think or feel anything, would you? And it's much more real than a simulated character in a video game. In fact, this is too quick an assertion. Modern science defines consciousness, in brief, as the property of a complex system to reflect reality. That is, if something is complex enough, very, very complex,
Pawn Stars,
we were watching have consciousness. And again, that's very briefly and simplistically. And we know such a highly complex system, the human brain. We know for sure, 100%, that this piece of organic matter can be a carrier of consciousness. But the brain is made up of just the same molecules and atoms that make up everything around us. Complex electrochemical reactions take place in it, and that's what we call thinking. But wait a minute, doesn't something very, very similar happen in modern computers? Do you see what this is about? We have not the slightest reason to believe that consciousness can appear only and exclusively in a jelly-like piece of organic matter. And if some microprocessor system would be endowed with the same complexity, there is not a single law of physics known to us that would deny the emergence of consciousness in such a system, or even more than one. That is, the conditional characters in a super mega complex simulation of the future may be as complex as the human brain, and there is no reason to believe that they could not develop some resemblance to our consciousness. Of course, that would require some enormous computational power. Gigantic. But recall the beginning of this video. How many times has the power of computers grown in just 80 years? 200 trillion times. And what if progress continues for another 80 years? Or 80,000? Or 80 million? Here we come very close to Nick Bostrom's second assumption. The second assumption. The technological progress will not slow down in the foreseeable future. It's pretty clear. We assume that humanity will not hit an insurmountable barrier in its progress. Quite recently, such a barrier has loomed on the horizon, and futurologists got a bit discouraged. You've probably heard of Moore's Law. If you have not, let us summarize it briefly. It is not even a law, but an assumption based on observations formulated by Intel co-founder Gordon Moore. It states that the computational power of computers doubles about every 2 years. And it did happen that way with slight variations for decades. However, at a certain point, the law stopped working. The direct proportionality of Moore's Law began to decrease. Physical and technological limitations began to affect further growth of computational power. This trend became noticeable already in the early 2000s.
I missed that part.
There are too many options.
How do we decide what hotel to book?
Anyways, Alexa, what time is it?
Who are you? I'm your fairy hotel mother.
What is happening?
Let me help you pick a hotel you feel good
It's
about.
10:41 p.m.
brand with a hotel for every type of stay. Like your comfort with the kiddos.
Ooh, spacious.
Or Cambria Hotel downtown for just the two of you. Hold my wand, don't wave it at anything. Get the best price by booking direct.
We're watching simulation,
What did I
like
say?
computers computing.
Decreasing
virtual reality
due to extreme limits, physical limitations in signal transmission, and increasing power consumption hindered further strict compliance with Moore's Law. Designing and manufacturing more powerful processors with high transistor densities became increasingly difficult and expensive. That's why futurologists became so despondent, and skeptics started talking about the very capacity limit that would be physically impossible to overcome. However, companies began to look for alternative ways to increase computational power, such as multi-core processors, optimization of algorithms, and development of specialized hardware solutions for specific tasks. Now, we are at an epochal turning point, when quantum computers are no longer a theory, but a reality. It is only a matter of their mass production and
a quantum computer.
And quantum computers are not even something more powerful, but something fundamentally different. The physics working there is completely different. Who knows what else we will invent in a few generations, when quantum computers will become an ordinary thing. So we can be pretty sure that Nick Bostrom's assumption that computational power will not decrease is quite reasonable and justified. Okay, then what about the third assumption? The third assumption. Advanced civilizations do not destroy themselves. Really, Why should we care about technologies of the future if we simply will not get to this future because we will just die out? We will kill ourselves in a nuclear war or perish because of an asteroid impact, not being able to protect ourselves from it or settle on other planets. Well, it's even simpler here. If we put aside the elusive idea of the Great Filter, it is easy to understand that if we do manage to resettle on other planets, human civilization has all chances to become immortal. And as you know, Elon Musk, with his mission to Mars, is deliberately trying to help us do that. And he's making notable progress. One man, so far. We sincerely wish him luck. Let's move on. The fourth assumption.
See the Martians.
Advanced civilizations want to run simulations. Indeed, as long as we ourselves are not such an advanced civilization, it is quite difficult for us to imagine why those advanced ones, would want to do this. Nick Bostrom has suggested that one reason might be historical simulation. People from an advanced civilization might want to see what their ancestors did, but instead of reading books, they play scenarios. Or we might be characters in a very advanced video game or something else. Who knows what those advanced ones might have in mind? After all, let's look at ourselves. The more we develop, the more we play video games and wander around the meta-universes. Why would this trend start to fade? Finally, the fifth assumption. If there are a lot of simulations, there's a good chance you're part of one of them. Well, that's it. Here we go. All 5 assumptions are working. There is no reason to disprove any of them. Are you getting a little uneasy? Here is what American astrophysicist and famous popularizer of science Neil deGrasse Tyson says about it. According to him, admitting the idea that it is possible to create a simulation within a simulation automatically means that we are likely to be in one of them. We take the computational power available to us today and realize that we have the ability to create an entire world in a computer. Now imagine a future where the power will be even greater, and you can create characters who have free will. You set the laws by which this world lives. Now imagine that you are a character in this game. You think you have free will, and you decide that you want to invent the computer. And you do. Then you decide to create a world in your computer. You end up with a multitude of universes before you. You throw a dart. Which universe are you most likely to hit? The first universe? The real one, where it all began? Or the countless simulations that came after?
You look at our computing power today, and you say, I have the power to program a world inside of a computer. Well, imagine in the future where you have even more power than that. You can create characters
like an old black and white TV.
Free will, or their own perception of free will. So this is a world, and I program in the laws that govern that world. That world will have its own laws of physics, chemistry, biology. Now you're a character in that world, and you think you have free will, and say, I want to invent a computer, so you do. Hey, I want to create a world in my computer. And then that world creates a world in its computer. And then you have simulations all the way down. So now you lay out all these universes and throw a dart. Which of these universes are you most likely to hit? The original one that started it? Or the countless simulations, the daughter simulations that unfolded thereafter?
Elon Musk even goes much further and exaggerates it a bit. He says, we'd better hope we're in a simulation. We either create simulations indistinguishable from reality, or civilization will cease to exist. Those are our options. Elon believes that we are hardly living in a basic, real reality. Discussion of the simulation hypothesis sooner or later leads to the fact that statistically, it is really unlikely. Nick Bostrom is also certain. The chance that we are living in a simulation is very high. Meanwhile, Neil deGrasse Tyson reflects as follows, refining his earlier conclusions. If we haven't yet reached the technological stage of development to create our own realistic simulations, then either we're living in a main reality or we're living in the last simulated reality in the chain. This means the chances are 50-50. We're still on Musk's side, though. Of course, we've outlined things very simplistically here. In fact, it's much more complicated than that. The difficulty of finding a definite answer to the question of whether we are living in a simulation was outlined by philosopher David Chalmers. Any evidence in favor of a particular theory can be artificially simulated. That is, the hypothetical creators of our simulation can deliberately lead us down the path they want us to go.
Ooh. Good night, everyone. Thank you guys. Happy Sunday. Have a happy Monday. Good night.
Febreze. Hi. I use Febreze Stay Defy Blood. And I use this. Febreze has a microchip